Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello everybody at home and welcome to Houselights, the wing of Bond, James Bond that is, and we are talking about 1995's GoldenEye, directed by Martin Campbell. So this is the beginning of the end for us, because Martin Campbell is the last director that we're going to be talking about with Bond, because he directed Pierce Brosnan, and next week we're going to be talking about Casino Royale, where he directed Daniel Craig. Last week we talked about John Glenn with Timothy Dalton, and Timothy Dalton was supposed to be in GoldenEye, but because of legal crap behind the scenes, they had to take a 6-year gap.
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
This came out in
89 to 95, so 6 years.
Yeah. 6 years.
Longest gap between movies until we get from Skyfall to No Time to Die, but that was because of COVID that it took.
We could blame COVID, but no, I'm just kidding.
So, yes, I mean, that's just crazy, like, because we talked about previous behind-the-scenes drama with Eon and the Broccoli's and Contract and Roger Moore and Timothy Dalton maybe going to be coming on, but then there was a time when Pierce Brosnan was going to come on in 81 instead of Dalton, but there was Remington Steele issues, but then finally, because of this gap, Timothy Dalton bowed out, because when came time to do GoldenEye, or at least a version of GoldenEye, because as they were writing it, it was earmarked for Dalton. They wrote it with a Dalton tone, which you can really tell, I think, but we'll get into that. And Dalton said, like, okay, well, I'll do one more. And Albert Broccoli was just like, no, we had a 6-year gap. If you're going to do more, you got to do more. You can't just do one more.
You got to sign on for
Dalton's
a couple.
Yeah, you got to sign on for more. And Dalton's like, nah, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And then swoops in Pierce Brosnan, which is just so
out of
crazy
nowhere. Just kidding. We told
yeah, like it was like, I finally got my shot. And it's just so crazy, because to finally get it 14 years later, when you're thinking about it happening, and because he's not old here, but he's also not like a teenager or like early 20s, so it really makes you wonder, like, how different License to Kill and Living Daylights and everything like that would have been with a really young Bond, like with Pierce Brosnan. Or does Pierce Brosnan always kind of make you feel like he's Pierce Brosnan? Like, is he ageless or anything like that? I don't know, but that's not my question. Anyway, I didn't even introduce my co-hosts. My goodness, I love this movie so much that I just went right into it. So I'm your co-host, Tristan Riddell, and with me, as they always are, is the one and only Dr. Sci-Fi, Darren Moser, and Kessel Junkie himself, straight from rehab, John Mills. John, how are you doing today?
I wasn't released from rehab. I'm using my one phone call of the day to call you from rehab.
Oh my gosh, relapsed again. Okay.
Again and again. Can't help it.
Darren, Dr. Sci-Fi, what have you been building?
Oh, building. It's a golden something. It's not an eye, but it will create an EMP. No. It's just more repairs on the laser and such. It's been a lot of fun.
Let's open that up, because we've had a golden eye, we've had a gold finger. Like, how many other body parts? Like, when do we start getting into an era where, like, we no longer want any gold things? Like, we're never going to have a gold butt. We know that. There's never going to be a super thing called a gold butt. But,
we did get gold member,
that's true.
But that wasn't a part of...
That's true.
Is it under the not approved by Eon, like in the buy
Yeah,
section?
Exactly. So, like, what would be next for Bond? If we had to spitball a gold Bond movie, what would it be? We've had a golden gun, we've had a golden eye, we've had a gold finger, gold what? What would be the next thing?
Gold watch for when he retires.
Golden voice. And it's about singing.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. All right, there you go. We got 2 more gold Bond movies.
There we go. We should pitch it to the Broccoli's.
Yeah.
All right. So, John, where were you? When were you? And what were you wearing when GoldenEye came out? Did you see this in theater?
Yes.
this a rental?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my friends and I were super excited to see this because the marketing campaign for this was big.
Huge.
We all knew who Bond was and everything, and they went all in on just pushing in, hey, it's Pierce Brosnan. You know that this guy's going to be great. He's going to be the best Bond ever. You've got to see this this Bond is the one to see. This is the guy. We're finally back. This is the full. And they really pushed, and so everybody was all on board to go see GoldenEye. Saw it with a bunch of my friends. I actually believe I saw it in the Center Park movie theater out by Calverton, Maryland, because that's those were my stomping grounds at the time. And so I was wearing comfortable clothing. I'm 100% guaranteed of that because I'm a comfortable kind of guy. I don't like to dress up too much when I go out. So it was just me and my friends. We went out and we caught it, and I remember us having a great time. Everybody had a lot of fun watching it, and it was one of those hits where just everybody saw it and everybody talked about it for a couple months afterward.
I remember the ad campaigns for this. Like, this was huge. Like, they pulled out all the stops. I mean, like 6 years without a Bond. That hadn't happened since it started in 1962. I mean, Bond at this point was already an institution.
Mm-hmm.
And so to go that long without a Bond film would be like going without a Marvel film for 6 years today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think is a fair comparison.
Oh,
Maybe
it's very
not
fair.
financially, but
No, I think that's a very, very fair, very apt sort of comparison because it's a franchise. Like, it was a rhythm. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm used to this. This is, even if Bond wasn't your thing, everybody knew who Bond was. So you're absolutely right. It's like, hey, we're coming back. This is a big deal. Like we're this is the new thing everybody's been waiting for. We promise you it's gonna be fab. Yeah.
yeah. Like the new deal has been inked. Like all the lawyers are happy. It's okay. We're good. We're gonna get going. And apparently, like when they announced that Pierce Brosnan was going to be the new Bond, they did it at a hotel with a big press event and everything like that. And he was fully bearded because he was going to be Robin Crusoe. Like he was going to be shooting the next day. And he was, and so I'm sure that people were like, what kind of take are they going to go?
Imagine if the
Bond
internet
here?
were much. I mean, the internet was around back then, but it was primarily an early adopter phase
Just
at
dial
that
up.
point. And hey, listen, dial-up worked just fine, young man. Sure, it took 20 minutes to download a picture, but hey,
remember
it
how
was
long
worth
it took, Boris to back up his files? It's taken a long time off of that train.
Yes, I remember so much from that time. But it's if he came out with a beard nowadays, if it was like, hey, we're announcing our new Bond, and like he comes out and he's got this, the Robinson Crusoe beard. Can you imagine what the social media sphere would be like? The TikTok dances alone would be in the thousands immediately. So
I don't think they would have lit him on stage. Like, I think if that was a Daniel Craig thing,
I agree.
I think they would have said like, he can't be here today because he's filming Robinson Crusoe.
So here's a great unbearded picture of our new star right here. I'll hold it up for you so you can see it.
Here's a cardboard cutout, and this is exactly how he's going to look.
And we did get a bit of bearded Brosnan, say it 3 times fast, in was it Die Another Day, where he's like, we're getting that montage of him being imprisoned and such, and he's growing it out a bit for that. But yeah, no, Bond doesn't have a beard. He doesn't.
No.
Hairy chest, but no beard.
Very hairy chest. The hairier the better.
I agree.
So, Darren, where were you when you saw this? What were you doing? When did you see this? Blockbuster, in the theater? Because I was 9 when this came out.
I would have been in 5th grade, 6th grade-ish. So still probably not in theaters. This is still probably a Blockbuster. But I could tell you what I did in 1997 was play the heck out of the N64 game. Oh my gosh, that game was just one of the best first-person shooters. And that was what was weird about watching it this week, is all the sound effects are the same. Like, they took them all from the movie. Every ricochet, every, mine explosion, everything came from that game. But so this was probably a Blockbuster, a few years later. But Yeah, but I consider this to be, my Bond. This is the first one I really remember seeing. Brosnan in GoldenEye was what, I wouldn't say turned me onto the franchise. It's not like I became like, oh, I got to watch it all now. But, we all have like Doctor Who, we all have our first Doctor. This is my first Bond was this movie and this Bond.
It's something I find interesting about that is, especially watching it this time, Tristan, I know you mentioned your dad is no fan of Roger Moore as Bond. How did he react to Brosnan? Because there's very much there is something of a step back toward Roger Moore vibe to this, especially when you compare it to like License to Kill.
Well, I mean, when you compare it to License to Kill, yeah.
Or even The Living Daylights. It's sort of it's a little bit campier.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I think it's a little bit campier than License to Kill, definitely, and Living Daylights, but I don't think that puts it in Roger Moore territory. I don't think campy means Roger Moore. I think campy means return to original Bond style.
But okay, so let's go back. So when I'd
say more Sean Connery than Moore, personally.
See, the thing is, I see this more as like more as a stronger Moore sort of vibe.
More, less more.
Yeah, more, less more. But this is somewhere in a Spy Who Loved Me sort of vibe, which is inarguably Moore's best. But it definitely has more of that. I would say Brosnan has more of that type of feel to Bond as opposed to the grittier Bond that they were just sort of scratching the surface of with Dalton.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that, because I feel like when you look at the dramatic scenes that Brosnan does, like when he's facing Trevelyan in the like abandoned art courtyard of the USSR.
You don't have an abandoned art courtyard.
Yeah, when you topple statues, you have to put them somewhere.
That is very true. That is very true.
Yeah. When he's there, like, and he's having that kind of interaction, like I don't get more at all there. And with the violence, I'm not getting more at all. I'm getting way more Dalton with the violence than I am with Moore. But maybe I'll give you the tank chase. I could see more in a tank.
Allow me to narrow it down even further. I'm not talking about the movie here. I'm talking about the type of charisma that Brosnan brings to it. Is more.
That's what I'm describing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm describing. I'm talking about the.
Huh.
I'm talking about his acting chops. I'm talking about his verve, the way he presents himself. I don't see Moore that often, except for maybe with Q and the tank chase. That's where I see Roger Moore.
See, the thing is, I'm not offering it as a pejorative, right? Like, for me, I'm
not offering it as a pejorative either. I
don't even know what pejorative means.
No, I'm saying that there's that Brosnan himself, there's like more fun about him than Dalton. That's what I'm saying.
So.
Is there's a much more relaxed air about him, and so it's more of that Roger Moore-esque feeling in the role than Dalton brought to it.
I will give you, in the terms of camp, lightheartedness, and humor, he is much closer to Roger Moore on that scale than he is Timothy Dalton. 100%.
Well, then why don't we just talk all through this if we agree?
Because you were too broad. I was too broad.
Oh, please.
We want to say the word more as many times as possible in this podcast. We're going to have a counter in the corner.
But it's interesting though, like how we can. It's interesting how all three of us have our own perspectives on what Bond is, like who Bond is, and because like John, you're a little bit older than us, and so like Roger Moore would have been during your years, like that's like when Pierce Brosnan to us was Roger Moore to you. And am I wrong in that?
I mean, this is one of those ones where it's like, we all know I wasn't really watching Bond until Living Daylights came out. So like for me, Dalton was the first Bond sort of thing. But I get what you're saying. Like the Sunday night movie on broadcast television, Roger Moore was there. I knew he was James Bond, the whole time. So yes, I get what you're saying with that.
And so I think we're all influenced by our childhood Bond, whomever that is. Like for some people, your childhood Bond could be Sean Connery, even though you're 15 right now.
Right.
We don't know. It all depends on
Maybe
what
it's
you're
the first
exposed to.
one you saw, or
Yeah.
Right. And for me, like my first Bond was Sean Connery through VHS tapes because my dad just exposed me to all of Sean Connery's when I was a kid. So to me, like I refer to Brosnan as my Bond growing up because he was the theatrical released Bond during my childhood.
Sure.
Because with Living Daylights and License to Kill, I was a toddler. And so, I'm not aware of what's going on there. And so for me, it was Brosnan and GoldenEye was the first time I was aware of an ad campaign, that this was moving forward, that he was hitting theaters and everything like that. And so I was already a Bond fan, but this was my theatrical Bond. And I didn't get to go see GoldenEye in the theater because I was too young. But I remember Dad coming home saying, "Oh my gosh, Tristan, it's so good. Like, you have no idea. Like, oh my God.
I won't
like,
take you, but it's amazing."
Yeah, that's pretty much. I said, I was like, "Oh, so you're going to take me?" He's like, "No, not even a little. Like, I cannot take you without a fast forward button. But as soon as it comes out on tape, buddy, we're going to watch it together."
Really, Pop? Okay.
That's pretty much how it went down. I feel like I was there.
It's funny you mentioned the fast forward button because I became acutely aware of little ears being around during the Famke Janssen scenes where I'm like, okay, yeah, if you're just hearing this in the next room and not understanding the context of what's going on, this is terrible. Dad's not watching that type of movie.
Even if you explain the context, does that really make it better?
No. Not really. No.
It was so funny because I was doing some research online and I saw somebody say, like, I just for yucks, I went to the parental advisory stuff for this movie just to see how they classified on a top stuff. And one person wrote down like, "Oh, this is by far the tamest Bond so far." And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
That's insane.
Are they only watching the James Bond performance and like not all of the other characters? Maybe
they watched it with a fast forward button.
Maybe.
And so they missed all of these things that we're talking about here.
Yeah, we're talking about literal sexual violence and like people get shot in the head multiple times. Like we see an aftermath of a bloody orgy of death at Severnaya. Like there's just this was rough in terms of sex and violence, but yet it doesn't feel over the top. It's interesting how that works. Like, how did you, John, when you first saw this film, did you feel like the tone was too different from previous Bonds? Do you think it was right on track? How do you take the tonality compared to previous Bonds? And with do you like sex with your violence? Like, what's going on here?
Well, I'm no prude, but I can say that the Famke Janssen stuff felt a little over the top. That was one of those things. Now, keep in mind, again, I hadn't seen the entire history of Bond. So I'm sure there are arguments that line had been crossed previously, sort of thing. But in terms of the way it's portrayed here, yes, it's amped up. It's definitely amped up. And I think what undercuts it is they're very obviously imbuing it with a sense of silliness. Like there is very much a wink at the audience in here about how she kills people. There's very much that sort of thing where it's like, okay, hey, this is the joke and we're all in on it, sort of thing.
Like her name's on the top. We get it.
Exactly. And so in those terms, it's over the top, but it's playing, by rules of the game. In terms of the violence, it really just feels like it's catching up with where the movie landscape was by this point. I mean, there is absolutely nothing in this that wasn't in big blockbuster action movies. No.
Yeah, that's very fair and very astute. It's funny that you bring that up, not the violence part, but when we get to the car chase between the DB5 and the Ferrari, and then that music kicks in like,
because
I said out loud to my wife, I was like, God, I miss the 90s.
Well, am I the only one who feels that the
I don't know that I do.
actual Bond car chase is the tank chase? This is just like foreplay. This isn't really the Bond car chase.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yes, I know what you mean.
Misspoke,
Like, that little bit of synth, little tickle in the synth ivories. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to be pedantic, Darren, I'm
or
sure.
the
it's fine.
what is it? It's that deep, resonating, like metal clank we hear. You know what I mean? That like the duh, like it's in the back of like some of the when they're sneaking around places, or it just screams like, sickle and hammer Cold War sounds.
Yeah, like when we're in Russia, you hear that the most. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like almost like a whisper
love the sound
in
design.
the background.
Mm-hmm. I love the sound design of this movie, and I love the soundtrack. And this was actually the first sound I bought this and Top Gun soundtrack on the same day. It was the first CDs I ever bought.
See, I'm going to differ with you on the soundtrack. I know we usually save this discussion for later on, but I was not in love with the soundtrack. At least not on this listen.
I knew it. I knew you would not like this because I came into this ready to say this is by far and away the best Bond soundtrack out of any movie so far. Maybe with the exception of Goldfinger and You Only Live Twice.
Maybe. Sorry, have to.
It's not a bad score, not by any stretch, and Eric Serra is a good composer. I've liked a lot of his work.
It's the only Bond he does. I looked it up.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, like he did the Professional, Leon, the Professional. I'm sorry, Fifth Element. Those are two that I would have seen, and I love those scores. I think they're fantastic.
Oh man, his work on Fifth Element is next level.
Absolutely wonderful. But this is a very not, with the exception of the way that he uses the 007 theme, I think is good. I think that works. Okay,
that's funny because most people are the tonal opposite of you. Most people actually, when this movie first came out, there was so much outcry over how he used the 007 theme that they had to change it moving forward.
I like the way he uses the 007 theme in the context of the film. I don't like it at the beginning of the film. That's the point where I don't like it. I didn't like whatever he did with that, and it just didn't. It sounded tinny in a lot of ways to me, like it was weird.
Maybe I'm getting confused on that. Maybe that's the moment that people are.
That is the specific moment where when the opening happens, the iconic opening happens. My ear immediately says, this isn't right. This is wrong. This is completely not the right way to do this. But then in the context of the movie, like when he uses the 007 theme during the tank chase, I'm like, that's how you use the 007 theme.
Is what I think of first.
You're right. I was mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but overall, the rest of the score is honestly sort of bland 90s action score to me.
Oh, man. That's so funny because I was like, I paid attention. Like I really paid attention, like for the same reason that Darren, like talks about like with the sound effects, like when I hear the music, like because I had that soundtrack and I just listened to it on loop and also playing the game. Like they use some of those beats, those same musical beats in the game so much. And it's just ingrained in your brain.
I can't differentiate
really
between the game and the movie. Sound design at all. It's so intermixed in my mind.
I tried to really pay attention so that we could talk about it, and every single scene I was in, I was like, that's great, man. That's the great tone. That's perfect tone for this scene right there with the bomb in the background and it's great. Like I cannot stress enough how much I love this soundtrack. And John, I have an issue with synth in movies.
I do.
Like when it's not. When
do you
it's
ban
synth,
Mannheim
it's trying to sound like
Steamroller
an
from
orchestra.
your house at the holidays, Tristan? You say no.
No,
it's
you
not
can't
Christmas
do that.
to me.
No. You can't ban Mannheim Steamroller. That's not.
I'm not banning. I
allowed.
love Mannheim. Tristan's
nobody's
the one who
allowed to.
apparently
It's a
hates
law.
Mannheim.
It's a law. They slide the CD under everybody's door every Christmas season. You cannot. But Darren, what about you? Are you going to be the tiebreaker here? Are you going to be
I mean, you have to realize this is like nostalgia glasses to the extreme. Like, you're not going to win this one, John. I'm totally siding with Tristan.
Oh no, I
on
just
this.
feel like you're being more honest than Tristan in that moment.
No, I
where it's all
enjoy
nostalgia
the soundtrack. It's always hard for me to remember and go back in my mind of like remembering cues. But no, I enjoy it. I do agree. There are some moments where it doesn't feel quite on par, but for overall, I enjoy the soundtrack. And yeah, a little bit of synth with the Ferrari race is just fun. It's playful.
Playful. Ladies First, I believe, is the name of the track.
It's such a perfect name.
So let's talk about now. Martin Campbell was hired mainly because of his TV work. Like, he has a very strong TV background, which whenever you see that, at least in the 80s and 90s and even early 2000s, whenever you saw a TV director take on a film, I feel like it's a franchise looking for a worker.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's like, okay, who can do this for budget? Who can get it done?
And that makes sense for Bond, because Bond is like, if any franchise that is like producer run, I would think it's Bond. Like, they're the ones, like, directors come and go, Bonds come and go, but producers are forever, really, in this, or, you know, for a long time.
In this type of franchise.
Yeah.
Like the Broccolis, like, boom, no, that's their stamp. The Broccolis is Bond, the Bond is Broccolis. And so, yeah, you are hiring the director. You are making. There's a reason why the producers get the Oscar for Best Motion Picture, and this is one of those reasons. And Martin Campbell, like, I didn't really know any of his work. Obviously, I was too young to pay attention to it. But one thing really stands out to me, and that's the movie that he did right after this with The Mask of Zorro.
Yeah, after this, he like took off. Like, he did a lot of great pieces. Not in 2011.
Would we call Vertical Limit great?
But well,
I'd say Vertical Limit is underrated. It's not a great movie,
yeah,
but it's not the terrible movie. So many people have forgotten it and think it's like one of those VHSs that you keep in the basement and that you forget you had. But there's some key. The direction is good, at least I should say.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
but the
fair.
Zorros were good.
The Zorro was good.
Okay, I know the second one wasn't
Zorro.
that good. That's true.
But anyway, so not a huge filmography before this. So that's what makes me say that. Like, it's just like they wanted a worker. They wanted somebody who could get it done on time and on budget. But like, what did you think of Martin Campbell's style? Like Darren, compared to John Glenn, to Guy Hamilton, what did you think about his style? Did you think it was too 90s? Did you think it was not 90s enough? Do you think it was over the top? Do you think it was understated? Like, did you see Campbell's stamp? Or was it like, no, this guy is just getting the shot. He's making sure it's in frame. What's your take on this?
Campbell's going to be really interesting because, we also are going to talk about him next week with Casino Royale, and both movies, he does the initial Bond changeover, which is also its own kind of movie. You have to kind of reestablish, what is this Bond going to be like? You're kind of doing an extra dip into that shaken, not stirred. Like, he's got to say that, like, you got a checklist you kind of have to do on a new Bond. He's got to, otherwise it's like, oh, well, we don't know how he likes his drink. Like, we know how he likes his drink, but we just haven't literally heard him say it. But I will say, I mean, it's 95. I know it's like, that means it's shot in 94, but it's 95. It's mid 90s. Like, it's because the 90s were it's such an interesting decade because, like, I would even say something in 91 doesn't feel like an 80s movie. Like, the 90s became so entrenched, and even 99 is right on that millennial, but a 2000 movie feels very different than a 99 movie. So the 90s were a carved out decade that, just had its own look, had its little bit of synth, had its fun. It's definitely not 80s. So yeah, I think you see his fingerprints all over this. I think he's enjoying that role. Like you said, they're hiring someone to get the job done, but he has the freedom of establishing a new Bond, which is, I think, the best of both worlds, rather than, okay, well, you have to hit the checklist, and also you have to do kind of what this actor has been doing for the last 3 films. Like, that's a different, conundrum to do. But I don't know why I keep saying TNG episode titles in my call outs, but no, I think
it's ingrained, man. It's in your DNA now.
No, I liked this, and it's going to be really interesting to compare next week.
I think that's really well put, Darren. I think if I could throw in my 2 cents, and John, I want you to chime in. I think this is like GoldenEye is a soft reboot, in my opinion. Like, even though it's the same character, it's the same history, even the same Q, it's starting over. It's 6 years off. It's the first Bond of the 90s, even though we're halfway through the decade.
New M.
It's a new M. That's a big friggin' deal.
They even mention it by name. Like, they call it out in the movie.
Yeah. And so, like, I think this is a very 90s Bond in the best possible way. And I think I'm going to give Martin Campbell the props for that he introduced Bond into the 90s and and kind of separated it from the 80s and 70s and saying, like, no, this is a new type of Bond without betraying the history and the previous essence of it. Now, John, what do you think of everything that we're saying here?
Well, I think that it's necessary to bring in somebody like Martin Campbell specifically because he worked in television, and so he knows what people want. Look, as much as I think it's great that John Glenn took Bond for as long a period as he did, the inevitable byproduct is that the style becomes a little stale, for lack of a better word. You lose the
pulse of where movies are.
You're doing them every 2 years. You're churning them out. You have a template, and it's mass production. And whether it's a hit or whether it's a miss, a lot of it depends on just the stars aligning just right. Did you get all your stuff done? Well, it doesn't matter. You're going to release every 2 years. So you're going to get what you get, and you're going to go through, and you know how to set up this shot, and you just can't slip. You got to keep the production schedule going. Campbell does benefit from the breather, but he also, coming in, he does have a sizable television filmography, but he also did stuff like No Escape with Ray Liotta that came out in 94. I remember seeing that in the movie theater. And he had done a couple of things that were, relatively interesting, previous to this, that were films. So you have somebody basically who wasn't I think this is a very clunky way of me to say he wasn't just doing Bond leading up to this. Once Glenn takes over, that's all he does. He's in the James Bond business.
Right.
And
he doesn't have time to do movies in between movies.
Right.
It's just Bond.
You're bringing a guy in from a very cutthroat industry, television. If you're not delivering what people want to watch, you lose your job the next week, sort of thing. And so he knows how to plug into that larger system that we're talking about, because a TV director, how much of an artistic stamp do they put on each episode? They have to work within a template. They have to do all this, but they can put a little twist here and there.
And you got to connect to people in the first 5 minutes,
right,
or they're changing the channel. I mean, it's a little different with the movie, but I feel it. I feel like, it's the Bond formula. It's the open. You got to hook them.
But the editing, I think you're right on, is the editing in this. It's quicker. There's a little bit more of that, what the old timers at the time would be like, it's these MTV kids. They can't take longer cuts. But seriously, there's a lot more cutting. There's a lot more reverse angles. There's a lot more energy infused in the way the shots play against each other.
Especially with the GoldenEye countdown right before it hits Severnaya, that's like an extreme, example of what you're talking about, where it's cutting back and forth between the countdown and Natalia's face, and then like the countdown's in Dutch angles, she's in a Dutch angle, and just goes back and forth. It gets progressively faster as it gets closer. You never would have seen that in a Hamilton or Glenn film. Never. And it's not because it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a sign of the times.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, let's talk about. Now, you mentioned the opening. Let's talk about the pre-credit sequence. I might be peppered with the video game. I love this opening. This is probably my favorite Bond opening of all time. It's so spot on. It's so great. It gives Bond a backstory. It gives him a cool moment, but also a tragic one where he loses a friend and a coworker, a colleague,
A double
and
O.
a brother in arms, if you will, and a fellow 00, which we don't see too terribly often in Bond.
It
I think
gives
we
it
saw
weight.
00. Yeah,
like,
we
this
saw
is a person of
009
Bond's
get murdered as a
caliber.
clown.
Yeah.
Yes.
We saw a couple of double O's at the beginning of Living Daylights. They jumped out with
That's
with
right.
Bond.
That's right.
From the
Or they'll
That's
mention
right.
him, but you won't. Like, oh, 008 is on this cast, or we're pulling him off this. Like, it's not. Yeah, I think, like I said, it's.
But this is the first 00 with lines, I think. Right?
Or at least, well, he's a main character.
Maybe right.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like I said, like in Octopussy, I think 009 didn't have any lines. He just died. With a knife in his back.
Yeah.
And then the Living Daylights Bonds, where their lines were, ah!
Yeah, they also die. So
Yep.
it's the Worf of how do we show this character strong? I have him kill a 00. Okay, there we go. This could have been
Given.
Bond. It could have been him.
But I remember, I think when he jumps off, like when he rides
that
off the
jump.
runway on a motorcycle and then Superman's into the plane and then pulls it up and you hear the roar of the engine and then you hear, and then it seamlessly goes into din, 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 din.
Or even just the bungee jump at the beginning, like the whole beginning of
Which
that.
was the longest, the highest up bungee jump that was ever filmed.
So crazy.
Yeah.
That's just craziness.
It's a very good opening. It really is. Is it the best? I will disagree on that.
Hey, that's cool. What do you think?
Personally,
is
it's my number
It's
two.
the opening. It's the opening of The Spy Who Loved Me. That's the best opening.
Man, I really got to watch that.
That is the best opening. But I think that in a lot of ways, this again is in the vein of that, where it's stretching credulity through the whole thing. Where you're like, oh, not really. Maybe that's not. I don't know. And then at the very end of it, you're like, okay, all right, fine, yay, all right.
We've
Golf
set the
clap
level
and a giggle
of
I gotcha.
craziness. Yeah,
This
that's
is
true.
This is where we're at. Thank you very much. And I think that's where that plane stunt really. I think that's its real function with the audience. They're pushing boundaries as to what's believable, what's achievable, what's going on, that sort of thing. And then they get to that plane dive, and it's an open declaration. We're going to go a little crazy every so often. Okay, we're not going to ask too much, but let's just go with it, sort of thing. It's the Indiana Jones principle, where it's like it just pushes a little bit here and there, and so that you're
later
ready for
Bond's
the big
plane is
thing.
going to get hit by a missile and he'll survive the landing. Like, that is less likely than him jumping into a plane.
Who knew?
I was gonna
who knew
say-
Cessnas were so tough?
They're so tough.
I
Oh my
didn't.
gosh.
That thing should have just been like poof, gone. The whole thing just
Yes.
It went through the wing without
Yeah.
exploding,
Which,
but somehow
you know what
still
are in
caught
the
on
wings,
fire.
right,
Yes.
guys? The wings are the fuel tanks. Like, that's
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say my favorite Brosnan. I haven't given it too much thought, but my favorite Brosnan intro is I love Tomorrow Never Dies. I think, which kind of feels kind of similar, like they're on the same icy plateau. But it's with where he gets in the plane and because it's got the bombs on it and he has to get it out while the missile is heading in.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And he starts to like shoot everybody up from the plane. I like that one personally. It's like a hair above this one. I feel it's like just a little more refined than this ending or this beginning.
I think probably the reason why this one pushes it to the top is because it has so much emotional weight that actually impacts the story moving on.
It's not.
Fair.
That's
Because
true.
there's so many other-
It's not a standalone intro. It actually
Right.
directly impacts the rest of the plot.
And and to be fair, there's many Bonds that has openings like this that influence a plot, but not on a character-driven level. It's sometimes it's just a kickoff to the MacGuffin. And with this one, it's not only story-driven, but also character-driven as well. Now, speaking of character-driven, let's talk about 006. Let's talk about Sean Bean, the man who loves to die on film, and who he himself auditioned for Bond years ago in the 80s, but didn't get it. But then they gave him a consolation prize at 006.
And then killed him. So what did you, John, what did you think of 006 as the main bad guy, as Yanis, a former 00, a former agent, Count Dooku, if you will.
No,
yeah, what did you think?
Great concept, great execution. And I think that Sean Bean, I love the guy. He, in a lot of ways, he can do no wrong. I love watching him on film. Yeah, I know. Of course, the joke. Yes, he dies every time you see him, sort of thing. But I think he's great, and I think he's having fun, and I believe him as a 00 agent. I look at this guy and the way he carries himself. I see him as a 00, and I say, yeah, okay, I could see that. And if anything, and this is probably reading too much into it, but there's almost, I think, whether it's subliminal, I don't know if it's intentional, however you want to look at it, but the way he treats Natalia, and the difference between Pierce Brosnan Bond and Sean Bean 006 very much feels like almost a subliminal sort of thing of saying, this is old 00. We don't want old 00 anymore. He is gruff and terrible toward people and women especially. This new 00, he's good. He's pure of heart. We can trust him.
He's a mirror for you too.
Right. I have no idea whether that would have been intentionally done, whether it's subliminal, whether it's them working with themselves, but I found it very interesting that a lot of the stuff that 006, after he turns bad, embodies is a lot of his behaviors are riffs on complaints about Bond in the modern age.
That's interesting. I never really considered that before. I never really thought about that, but I can't really refute it, nor do I want to. I think that's really solid reasoning. I think, like you said, it might not have been intentional, but that's definitely a theme that's present, whether subconscious or not.
I noticed something for the first time in this rewatch was almost kind of foreshadowing in the music video. So he creates the Janus crime syndicate, which if you do a Google search for Janus, it's like this god figure, but it's often represented by like a two-faced person, like where they have a face on the front and the back of their head, and we see that in the music video where there's a woman who's like smoking and she turns sideways and her other half has the gun, and that's 006 right there. Where he actually will shoot you in the back, and so it almost is foreshadowing it, but very heavily, like you wouldn't ever pick that up on something. But I liked that little nod that I'd never picked up before.
Now, the one thing I'll go a little rough toward with it is that the origin moment, that great opening that we're talking about, the mechanics of it don't really, like, it's one of those things where I don't like looking at it too closely, because the mechanics of it lead to other questions that don't really line up with the way the script wants to play. So I think that in to give credit to Campbell and the scriptwriter and everything, is that they have this great opening, and they very wisely they don't give you enough time to like really start breaking it down as to how well it actually works. And I think that's very much the advantage of the movie. Like, I know this sounds like a backhanded compliment, and I guess maybe it is in some way, but they came up with this great origin for 006 going evil, but the mechanics of it are still a little bit wonky with exactly who knew what when and was doing what for why and stuff like that. Like that's where I think there's a little bit of weakness with his villain origin.
You just talked for a long time
Mm-hmm.
about how it's wonky, but you haven't actually given any kind of examples.
Okay. I don't think it's particularly clear. It's never clearly laid out as to whether the evil Russian general is working with him and stages the fake shooting in the head thing. Right? That's not entirely clear. Did the general think he killed him and then 006 survived and then went bad and then hooked up with him? Or were they always hooked up from the beginning, sort of thing? Because it's the same general that's there that's later working with Yanis. So I don't think that's particularly well teased out. And I take that as them saying, well, we didn't really, we'll just sort of move past that and just let everybody, because it would have been confusing to have two generals going on in that moment.
I never really had an issue with that. I always just assumed that Oromov they were in it together from the beginning, and they've been working together to build this organization, this mafia from the word go.
I think it's completely valid to say, okay, that's what it is, but I don't think that it's clearly stated enough in the movie. I don't think that it is clearly laid out enough for people, because I'm a man of the people. So I'm just thinking in terms of, how clear would it be to somebody who's not plugged into like the Bond thinking?
So I think one of my favorite things about 006 is just how evenly matched he is with 007, with the same kind of training, the same kind of legacy, and the same kind of adventures. And I feel like that comes to a head during the fight above the antenna. I absolutely love that. I love hand-to-hand fights in movies, like no weapons, just two guys duking it out, and not just boxing, but like fighting, not martial arts. It's just a brawl. They are brawling, and they are trying to kill each other. Mm-hmm. This is to the death, and they're both trying to kill, and they're both trying to survive. And I love that there's no music during that sequence. It's just them fighting, just sound effects, and it feels rough. Like I wanted to, like at the end of the movie, I wanted to see Pierce Brosnan way more roughed up, because of that was
he needs a major ice pack
fight. Yeah, like he's like, they have it a little bit where he's laying down. He's just like, I'm gonna be a little sore tomorrow. I'm like, no, I wanted his face.
You dislocated your arm. Don't tell me you didn't on that ladder like that.
Yeah,
that looked like it hurt.
Oh, apparently that did actually hurt in real life. Like he hurt his hand, and so there were certain close-ups that they couldn't do because he hurt his hand so bad, and they had his son do the hand close-ups for him, like when he shifts gears in the car, when he opens up the champagne, that's his son's hand.
Oh, cool.
Doing that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Huh. So now what's a Bond film without a great Bond girl? So we have Natalia, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the rest of her name. What did you like? This was a little bit different. This was played by Isabella Skorupka. Skorupka?
I thought you weren't going to try to butcher names.
Just say you.
I feel a little betrayed right here.
Well, I wasn't going to butcher the on-screen name.
Oh, but anyway, poor Isabella's name. We'll just throw that in the blender.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Isabella. So this Bond girl is a little bit different because we see her so early on, and she survives so much, like multiple encounters, and she doesn't meet Bond until the hour mark. Mm-hmm. This is a little bit different.
She has her own parallel story going for quite a while, and when she finally, you have that classic moment of, we're going to go, disarm it, and she's like, what do you mean? And she's like, do you know how to do it? And she's like, she's got a point, and we believe it because we've seen her journey, and we're like, yeah, you're not going to win this on your own, Bond.
That was such a solid way to keep her along for the story, where, like you said, you can't question it. Like Bond could have said, "Oh, I'll figure something out." It's like, nope. He's straight up. He's like, "No, I don't know how to disarm it." And I like that they established that she's smart right off the bat. Where when Onatop comes in, she loosens the top so as a diversion so that she can hide in the cupboard. When there's an explosion, when things are going up all around her, she dives underneath the staircase. And it's just little things like that where it's not like she's not like this big hero. She's not somebody who, like she's not taken down 15 guards, 3 times her size by herself, but she is.
I don't think she actually ever shoots anybody in the whole movie.
No, she threatens the pilot with a gun, but I think that's the only thing that she does.
But that's not her role.
She uses. Yeah, it's not her role, and I think they utilize her really well as a Bond girl. Mm-hmm. But I will have to say, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna kind of spoil my rating a little bit. I have to take off a half star for the forced romance between Natalia and James. It doesn't work. Like when I was a kid, I thought it was fine. Like I didn't really think anything of it. But when not Felix Leiter gives him the keys.
I was gonna say it's the only thing we're missing was Felix in this movie.
Yep.
Yeah, like when he, hands off the Cessna, you could and then like gives him a bag that's presumably like has all the Q toys and the detonators, and maybe a change of clothes and detonators and everything like that. It has all the stuff in there. We get 2 more romance scenes that don't make sense.
I guess we got time, guys, because they're just killing time. Like, I guess they knew that the GoldenEye wasn't going to be delayed for another day or 2, maybe?
It doesn't make sense. It feels like this was inserted from a previous point in the film or a later point. It just doesn't fit. It feels like a studio note where they're like, yeah, you got to get some kissing in there for the women, so that they'll like the movie.
Well, I'd say it's more for Bond. Bond is known as a ladies' man.
But it just, yes, he's a ladies' man, but this felt more like an emphasis on introspection than just him being a ladies' man. When you look at those
like
scenes,
he's trying to decide, is he able to overcome 006? Like he's unsure.
I'm not, please be clear. I'm not saying that it's the right decision or a good one. I'm agreeing that it's like they layered on some awkward moments because they got a note saying, hey, we need a little more spiciness here. This is a James Bond movie. People expect a little more. We got to have a little more of that going on.
Oh,
here.
totally. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like the first scene is really confusing because like he's on a beach contemplating stuff, and you're like, okay, wait, are you not going to go to GoldenEye, or are you not going to go save the day? Like they're just chilling at a house that they rented from Airbnb. And
look, he's unsure if he's going to give the painting back. He hasn't bought all the bowler hats yet. He's trying to put it all together. It's literally
totally
out of that
like
movie. It's literally out of Thomas Crown Affair.
But then Natalia walks up and then like starts yelling at him for something. Like
because
like,
he's cold, Tristan. Come on.
But that doesn't make sense. Why is she yelling at him about being so cold? And like, why does she care if he's gonna kill a 006 or not? 006 sexually assaulted her and was going to kill her multiple times, and yet she's yelling at Bond because like, what? Just because he's not your friend anymore, you're gonna kill him? How can you be so cold? That it from a character standpoint, from a movie standpoint, it halts the movie dead in its tracks.
Although her tolerance for sexual harassment is very high based on her relationship with Alan Cummings' character, Boris.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So
that he's an HR disaster. But then again, it's Russia.
Listen,
he's got one swear. No. It's slughead. That's all he can say.
In the 1990s, people who understood programming were treated as if they were, they were Greek gods come to life, and they got away with
this did have a bit of a hackers feel with like Boris and his like any user interface we see in these mid 90s. Like no computers never look like that. Like they didn't look that custom.
It never worked like that ever.
Even on an IBM, because only IBMs were in this movie.
Well, I mean, I'm glad she went to the IBM computer cafe to use an IBM and talk about IBM products. That would be the best IBM way to get in contact with somebody who was not on an IBM, but an IBM clone in a different country that was familiar with IBM but didn't use IBM, as we drove through a Perrier truck. The product placement.
Oh my gosh!
Yep.
That's what really makes this feel like a truly 1990s movie. Is the product placements are insane. It's so noticeable. Especially we're watching Bond, we're watching Bond, and they're like, this is a big. I'm like, they underwrote like a quarter of the budget minimum with product placement in this movie.
Man,
like
the Perrier truck probably was the biggest offender for me.
My gosh. Well, I still remember people having a bit of a stink about the fact that he switched to a BMW.
That is categorized as one of the most profitable product placements in cinematic history.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
They underwrote $14 million to have the to switch to BMWs and have the BMW Roadster in there. It's projected that they gained $240 million from that product placement.
There you go.
How insane is that?
Whoever closed that deal never worked again a day in their life.
Jensen, why don't you get your quarterly notes? Hey, look, Bond car. Bond, that's all I'm saying, and I'm walking away.
Another Bond movie coming out. Yeah. I'm going to Tahiti. Peace.
So to go back to Natalia, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I really like her as a Bond girl. I think she's great, but those two scenes stop the movie dead. It kills the rhythm. It kills the pacing. And then if you excised it, nothing would change except it would improve. And because you would go from not Felix Leiter giving him the Cessna to them flying the Cessna.
You know, we've mentioned not Felix Leiter a couple of times here. I specifically want to call out the idea of bringing Joe Don Baker back in a different role breaks what I have liked previously, what I called out previously about what I like about side characters remaining consistent, because this side character remains consistent. Q addresses each Bond as Bond. I know Q. Q is the same actor. I therefore accept Bond. It helps reinforce that. Having Joe Don Baker not just be somebody come back and reprise a role, but be a guy who died as a villain, come back as a CIA ally, that is a bit of a bridge, but really only in the sense, I will acquiesce here, like only in the sense that it's been a decade since we saw him, pretty much.
Yeah, because he becomes a stay-through for Brosnan's era, so we see him multiple times.
I think just the next one.
Okay, well, we see him at least another time. But yeah,
he is a recurring character, yes.
But that's one of those things that I dislike about this is bringing Joe Don Baker back. Now, there is precedent because Maude Adams, she came back as two different characters and all of those sorts of things. So it really only is noticeable to those of us who watch every movie.
If you have a 6-year gap between Bond films, it resets the counter. You didn't know that? Like, you can now bring anybody back you want.
I totally forgot.
All right. So we're hitting up on an hour here. So before we give our ratings, I think we need to talk about Dame Judi Dench.
Yes.
Darren, what did you think about replacing M and with a woman?
Well, but again, for me, this is my first Bond. So M was always a woman, and I didn't feel that dichotomy. It wasn't strange watching the previous ones where, I was more concerned that she didn't have that leathered panel on her door. Like, I miss that more than anything. But, I think they call it out, but they call it out in a good way because she's literally saying, like, you don't think much of me because of blah, 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 and I don't think much of you and blah, blah, blah. And then they move past it. Like, they have the discussion that the internet of 1995 would have had right there on screen, and then they move past it. And I think that works well. But no, I love Judi Dench. I love how she gets more to do in later Brosnan films. And I think she does a great job. We get a new M, we get a new Moneypenny. We get, Q's still Q because we got to keep that consistent. But like you said, it's a soft reboot, and so I don't have any problems with M. I prefer it.
John, how about you?
I think they handled the change great. I do. I think that acknowledging it head on, not pretending that M was always her, is very necessary because you're changing the sex of the character. You have to acknowledge that that's different. And additionally, the way she plays it, I believe her character as like a tough as nails head of department. Like she really brings that in. I believe her as a person that would be in that
And she's not
role.
infallible.
Additionally, though, I like the fact that M's always had sort of a combative relationship with Bond, but previous M was sort of a playful, oh, he's my son who won't quite behave. Whereas I actually think this is a great direction for M to be in the state of mind of, I do not care for the way you do your work. I can't fire you, but I'm not going to necessarily praise you for being the jackass that you are. So there's real sort of like workplace tension I can see happening here, regardless of whether it's a man or a woman in that role. I would have expected a man to be the same way to say, and I think Ralph Fiennes sort of slides in initially in that sense of like, I don't know why you're still here, but I can't get rid of you. Like, honestly, it's the trial of every manager in a government job is they can't fire anybody. So maybe we've now seen a glimpse as to why Bond never gets fired, is because it's just that hard to get rid of a government employee. So I don't know.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk more about her, specifically in Casino Royale, where she plays a different M, but yet is still M.
Yes.
That was some serious, and to quote M, there was some serious balls there to get that done.
Yep.
And I loved it. I loved seeing a new, like, you guys just hit it on the head. Like, I can't put it any better. Like, I remember my dad, he was just over the moon. He's like, oh my gosh, it's such a great idea to have M this way, to have it be a woman, to Moneypenny being way feistier and like, slapping back, saying, like, where you can tell there's sexual tension, but she's not the doughy-eyed schoolgirl. She's just like, listen, like, either do it or don't, this kind of thing. And
it's like, you want to date me, do it. Then do it. Fine. It's like, go ahead. Nothing's stopping you. And she's like,
I dare you.
Yeah, like, I dare you to date me. Yeah, it's just like, I love it. I think she's great. She's going to be RM for years to come. And it was really great to see her solidified here and to see her grow and change over the next 4 films with Pierce Brosnan and continue on with Craig. I cannot wait to talk about her next week, to talk more about her next week. So, all right. So, Darren, how many GoldenEye satellites are you giving this film?
Well, in the movie, there's only 2, but it's definitely higher than that. I will fully admit, there is major nostalgia with this one. There is the first, Bond for me with this one. We get Robbie Coltrane, rest in peace. We get all these amazing actors, and it is a soft reboot. It's a perfect time to jump into Bond. Like, if you, for some reason, hate any other decade besides the 90s and really don't want to watch the past, this is a great starting point. It really is for Bond. It reinvents him. The technology feels right. It doesn't feel dated or weird. The miniature work is amazing. The finale is, triumphant with the antenna. It's a great movie. I have to give it 5. I cannot not give it 5. I do agree with your kind of hitting the brakes in that seaside moment. It's definitely there. But my nostalgia glasses are going to gloss over that and go to giving it 5. I don't know all their Russian names, but there's 5 GoldenEye satellites.
John, how many singing Mini Drivers are you giving?
Do you know how
film?
Delightful it was to see that and see her come up on screen and go, oh my gosh, that's Mini Driver. I didn't know who that was back in 1990. What? Yeah, I was like,
I always forget it's Mini Driver. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, is that Mini Driver?
That's pretty great. This is where I wind up being the bad guy. You guys are going to hate me. I'm the 006 of this. Okay. I think 006 is great. Love Sean Bean. I think the Bond girl's great. I agree. Giving her an actual backstory, wow, what a step forward. That's pretty cool. It's not just about her being capable. It's about her having an actual backstory, which again sort of calls back to Spy Who Loved Me, but whatever. And you go in, and I do think the opening is really good. I think there are a couple of parts where Tristan, you acknowledge there are a couple of things you could excise. There are a couple of things that I think even the way that it's cut in the scene is a little too choppy for my liking. And so I wind up squarely on a 3.5 out of 5 with GoldenEye.
Well, I mean, I think that's respectable for someone who,
dead inside. The term you're looking for is dead inside.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, thinks Roger Moore's the best Bond, but hey, potato, same thing.
Hold on. You bite your damn tongue right there. Don't you go throwing slurs around on this show, young man.
This is higher than either of his Roger Moore rankings.
Yeah. Darn tootin'. So there.
Didn't you say and admit that Roger Moore's the best Bond?
No. On a previous episode, I said trade up just to get a reaction out of you guys. Because I said trade up just to get the reaction out of you guys when we were talking about Golden Gun, and it got the reaction that I wanted. So there you go. I'm a showman.
Listening back to that episode, you say yes, with the trade up with Roger Moore.
Yeah, he trades.
And then there's 3 beats because both Darren and I are going, wait, what?
Trade
You're
up
welcome.
From Sean Connery to Roger Moore.
And you can hear me giggling in the background as you guys short circuit.
Our brains did a factory reset.
Absolutely.
To figure out how to respond.
Look, John, don't push any of the buttons in this car. It's not going to work.
Now, see, that's a better ending for the Joe Don Baker CIA agent right there. He's like, I'm not going to do anything. He
drives off. Boom. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but then we wouldn't have the ending with the seals and they were all around him, which is a funny joke.
Fair point.
All right. Well, with me, I did say that I knocked off a half star, so we know it's not 5 stars. I wanted it to be 5 stars because if you asked me 2 days ago, is GoldenEye a 5-star film? I say yes, absolutely. But then when I watched it again and I watched that romantic subplot, I was just like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is just absolutely terrible. And it doesn't need to be in there. And I'd probably trim down the tank sequence just a little bit. It just goes on a little too long. And there's actually a moment where my wife is watching with me, and she's like, is he being sneaky in a tank? Are they trying to sell that to us? That he's sneaking up on people in a tank? And I'm like, quiet, you.
I mean, she's not wrong. He's just like, oh, look at them up there. They can't possibly see me in a tank up here.
And this was my first exposure to Robbie Coltrane. So when he came up as Hagrid, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's Valentin. It's Valentine. Absolutely. I loved all the actors in this. I thought they all did a great job. This started my love affair with Famke Janssen. And actually, wait, no, I guess TNG did, but this solidified my love affair with Famke Janssen. And Pierce Brosnan as my theatrical Bond, I give this 4.5, where if you excise the romantic subplot with those 2 scenes, easy 5. Not only is this a great Bond film, it's a great film. It's a great action film. And I think they were so smart to incorporate the fall of the USSR. And because Soviet Russia was such a pillar of the Bond experience because of the Cold War, and they addressed that head on with the change of him. So she says you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War, and so this right here, right at the beginning, is telling us Bond has to change if he's going to continue in this new world, and he does. And thus the franchise changes for the better. And so, yeah, I absolutely love this movie. One of my favorite Bond films, next to Goldfinger in my eyes. All right. Well, that was our show, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Please tune in next week because it's going to be exciting. If you like this episode, you will love next week because we're going to continue and analyze and compare and contrast Martin Campbell's next Bond film, which he goes from soft reboot to full-on reboot with the first Daniel Craig outing of Casino Royale.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.